All right. Hi, Desiree. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure speaking with you today. As a start, could you please introduce or give us an introduction about yourself and tell us more about you all as a country manager for the Seed Group for the Iberian Peninsula?
Yeah, Pascal, it's great to be here and have this opportunity to chat with you about the Spanish and Portuguese tech ecosystem. So let me introduce myself. I'm the country manager for Iberia, which includes Portugal and Spain. And I'm based in Barcelona, Spain, where I've been living for almost 15 years. So I've been the country manager for over 2 years. And why I enjoy this position is because I get to interact firsthand with such a dynamic setting of talent and innovation. And what I do as the country manager is to be on the ground representing the Seed Group, a company of the private office of the Sheikh Saeed bin Ahmed Al Maktoum. I get involved in the local tech ecosystem by attending events, networking, and meeting CXOs at global conferences and discussing their expansion plans and highlight for them the different opportunities that are represented in the UAE and the broader GCC region. So part of my job is to provide insight into how forging strategic partnerships can provide value to companies looking to expand to the GCC.
Great. Thank you so much, Desiree. I suggest let's dive into the first topic. We are super excited to hear more about the ecosystem, the tech ecosystem in Spain and Portugal. When we look at the overview of the startup ecosystem in Spain, um, with Spain in focus, can you tell us what are the main hubs are and how the startup ecosystem looks like?
Sure. So we've got several hubs. We've got Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Bilbao. The last two are kind of the up-and-coming hubs. So the two main hubs are Barcelona and Madrid. Now, these two cities are famous for some rivalry, not only in economic or political terms, but also in the soccer field. Now, they've developed into two beating hubs on the European startup stage. And when we look into some statistics and some figures on the size and the state of the ecosystem, we can see that the number of startups has grown significantly in the past 10 to 15 years. In the past, as you can say in Spanish, eran cuatro gatos. But now there are approximately 11,000 active startups that were registered in 2022. Investment from international VCs has grown exponentially, especially in startups at growth stages. The VC money invested has been growing, with total funding rising to 1.6 billion euros in 2022. This is a massive increase compared to 514 million euros raised in 2022. We're seeing several unicorns rising up, the most well-known being Cabify and Glovo, but also including Copado, Devo, Domestika, Fever, Idealista, Job and Talent, TravelPerk, and Wallbox. So over the past 15 years that I've been living here, I've witnessed the startup scene's evolution. The products and services used to be very highly focused on the local market. They didn't always have a global vision from the start. And a lot of startups were focusing on developing an e-commerce business that was directed for the local market. And the founders you would get to know were mostly from Spain. If you compare that to now, you'll see how international it has become. For example, this struck me the most when I went to the last Barcelona Deep Tech Conference. At this Deep Tech Conference, you could see the nexus between corporates, research and technology transfer institutions, and startups. They all needed to work together to develop go-to-market ready products and services. The educational, research, and tech transfer institutions provided talent, and corporates were offering accelerator programs or acquiring those products and services. Now, I was quite impressed and surprised to see how many of these early stage founders were not from Spain, but they had decided to start their companies here. The founders had met their fellow co-founders while studying a master's program in Spain, or had received support from the research or tech transfer institutions. And combined with the great level of quality of life that makes you want to stay here, they continue to develop their companies here in Spain.
We appreciate that great overview and insights of the tech ecosystem. And let's dive into more the expansion strategies and the challenges that Spanish companies face. So in the context of the Iberian markets as a whole, can you elaborate on the unique challenges that local businesses face when trying to expand internationally?
Yeah, when we talk about the challenges that local businesses face when expanding internationally, we can see a couple of things. First, there's a shortage of access to funding for growth phases and internationalization. So there are more funds to support startups' birth rather than their growth. So a lot of times companies don't manage to scale up until they are around 5 to 10 years old. And then what happens is that after Series A, when their growth is really starting to pick up, 68% of growth funding comes from abroad. And as a result, more than 20% of scale-ups in the region move their headquarters to other markets when they scale. Unfortunately, this leads to loss of local wealth and job creation that could have been captured. And we also don't get to see the positive effects of the scale-up mafias that could have been contributed and given back to the startup ecosystem in terms of being angel investors or mentoring founders or starting new companies. Even small and medium enterprises also experience this problem regarding a lack of funding. And according to a survey conducted, some of the other challenges that companies face were selecting a commercial or industrial partner in the target market and navigating the regulatory aspects. So these were some of the challenges that Spanish companies looking to expand to new markets were facing.
Can you share some success stories of Iberian companies that have successfully transitioned into international markets and identified the critical factors that contributed to their achievements?
Yeah, I'm going to highlight some success stories of some well-known Spanish unicorns. So first, Glovo. Glovo started in 2015 in Barcelona with the simple idea to give everyone easy access to anything in their city. And now they are made up of 4,000 employees in 25 countries. They were recently acquired by Delivery Hero, the same owner of Talabat, one of the leading food delivery apps in the UAE. And one interesting fact is that actually in 2019, Mubadala, the sovereign wealth fund from the UAE, invested in their Series E round. And I think one of the critical factors that really contributed to their achievements was looking abroad and wanting to go into new markets quickly as soon as they found that their business model was working well.
Great.
Then we have another example of Cabify. So Cabify started out as an online platform for licensed taxis in 2010. In just over 10 years, the company has already become an essential player in the most important cities in Spain and Latin America. It is the leading platform for on-demand private vehicle services in Spain. And moreover, it's secured investments from international players, such as Rakuten, the world's third largest e-commerce company, SoftBank, and Intel Capital. Now, the curious thing that you can see about both of these companies is that they started to look abroad. So once they were able to test their business model, they looked abroad and wanted to expand. And you can see actually two different trajectories, spreading out in Europe first, and then going to the US. And other times, Spanish companies will go directly to Latin America, where they have an access to another 300 million Spanish-speaking population.
Thank you so much. Looking more now into the diplomatic relationship between the UAE and Spain, could you provide some insights into the current state of trade, investment, and cultural exchange between the Iberian region and the UAE? And how do these dynamics shape the decision of Iberian companies exploring the UAE market?
Yeah, regarding diplomatic relations, we can trace these strong diplomatic relations all the way back to the 1970s. And today, the UAE maintains its position as a major trading partner of the Kingdom of Spain and the Arab Gulf region, and continues to host high-level visits between the two countries. For example, Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, visited the Spain Pavilion at the Expo 2020, and also met with His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of Abu Dhabi. Spain is currently the UAE's sixth largest European partner, accounting for 5% of the UAE's total non-oil trade with EU countries in 2021. And what really drives these bilateral relations are principles of mutual understanding, as well as the commitment of the public and private sectors in both countries to promote collaboration and partnership in different sectors. Then when we look at the investment side, we can see actually that the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Fund, Mubadala, continues to forge bilateral relationships with Spain's Compañía Española de Financiación del Desarrollo, COFIDES, the latest investment partner. These two state-owned investors have joined forces to identify potential co-investment opportunities in Spain and strengthen economic investment ties between Spain and the United Arab Emirates. So both partners will look to common interests, particularly in relation to the development of the Spanish economy in energy transition, sustainable mobility, transport, circular economy, and digitization. And the UAE offers investment opportunities in areas such as infrastructure and transport, tourism, and renewable energies, areas in which Cofidis has extensive experience. And I think when we look at these strong diplomatic and investment relationships, this acts as a nod of confidence for companies interested in expanding to the UAE because they're generally looking for stable markets to enter in. And when they see these relationships are strong and will continue to be strong in the future, it really helps them to see that there's a strong future.
Now, with respect to the expansion into the Middle East, what are, in your opinion, the common misconceptions and expectations held by Iberian companies and businesses when considering entering the Middle East?
When we talk about some common misperceptions or expectations that are held by companies when considering entering the Middle East market, there are a couple of things. So one, I think sometimes companies fail to understand that the mobile penetration is higher than in Europe. So a lot of times companies don't fully understand the importance of providing a mobile app experience for customers to engage with or purchase from. For example, by 2025, an estimated 97.4% of people in the UAE will have a smartphone. We can compare this with Italy, where an estimated 70% of people will have a smartphone by 2025, or the UK, where smartphone users are projected to make up about 88.1% of the population by 2024. So as well as being tech savvy, the Middle East is young, with 2/3 of the region's population being under 35. Now, if you take those two facts into consideration, companies should really cater their marketing strategies, their products, and their services to these characteristics. I think another misconception is about the position of women in the workplace in the Middle East and their roles in business and entrepreneurship. You might also even have different stereotypes in mind about the freedom of women. But women are quite active in entrepreneurship and in the business world, that you might even experience more respectful behavior and more women in key positions than in many European countries. And lastly, in the Middle East, relationship building moves at a much slower pace when compared to Western cultures. So business developers need to think beyond the transaction and become personally invested with potential suppliers, customers, and partners. This can demand more patience if you're coming from a Western culture, and business is more straightforward after you start to build a relationship. But by dedicating time to get to know your business counterparts, the rewards will be magnified.
As the country manager for the Iberia region, how do you navigate and leverage cultural aspects between Iberia and the UAE to create mutually beneficial partnerships and enhance the success of Iberian businesses in the Middle East?
So Spain and the UAE share more commonalities than we might think. What's interesting is that I think we tend to forget that due to history, there's a lot of Arabic influence in Spain that can be seen even today. During the Moorish rule of Spain for about 800 years, they didn't destroy the culture of the places they occupied. Unlike other conquerors, they would preserve places, tolerate religions, and absorb cultures. And that's why we see Arabic influence on Spanish culture, language, food, architecture, music, and scientific contributions. For example, there are around 4,000 Spanish words with Arabic origin. Or take, for instance, a spice that was brought by Arabs, saffron, famous for its use in Spanish paella, the national dish of Spain. This spice is called azafran, the same as in Arabic. On the other hand, we live in such a globalized world that we forget how crucial it is to understand cultural differences and the need to localize strategies. So as country manager for Iberia, I try to emphasize how important it is not to underestimate the value of having a local partner to understand those differences and help companies to navigate new markets and to localize their product or service. Local partners have in-depth knowledge of the market, including cultural nuances, consumer preferences, and business practices, and they help to establish important relationships and accelerate your market expansion. A local partner can help companies understand and comply with regulations, reducing the risk of costly mistakes.
And to potential clients considering expansion with seed group support, what key message would you like to convey, emphasizing the advantages of tapping into the expertise and innovation of Iberian businesses within the UAE market?
What I would like to say to potential clients considering expansion with seed group support is that if you want to be at the forefront of technological innovation, you need to visit Dubai and just take in the speed of transformation. It would be difficult to say how many other countries in the world are led by such visionary leaders focused on shaping the future of business and technology. Dubai is unwavering in its goal of being a worldwide innovation and economic powerhouse, investing heavily in cutting-edge technologies such as AI, robots, and self-driving cars, creating opportunities for businesses in these sectors. So this represents great opportunities for technology companies to explore new funding channels, collaborate with government agencies on ambitious projects, and access world-class infrastructure to test and scale their products. And not only is the government leading strategic initiatives in technology, they are also trailblazing urban development initiatives to ensure it is a great place to live that attracts companies and talent from abroad. Whether it's becoming a 20-minute city or a smart and sustainable city, the UAE strives to continue to be one of the best destinations for expats.
Desiree, thank you so much for those great insights. I guess we've learned a lot about the Iberian tech ecosystem, Spain tech ecosystem. Now we're at the end of the interview, and I just want to ask you if you have anything to add or if you want to highlight anything else.
Yeah, I'd like to just conclude by saying I'm confident that we can be bullish about the Spanish tech ecosystem for the future. Barcelona is actually the third favorite European city to launch a startup, just behind London and Berlin. Spain is already a great place to live that attracts talent from abroad and encourages local talent to stay. But with the support of the government, funding from VCs, and growing influence from the snowball effect from unicorns in Spain's entrepreneurial ecosystem, I believe there is even more potential to thrive. As early tech startup members have continued founding, investing, and mentoring the new wave of Spanish tech companies, I'm really excited for the future. And as the country manager for Iberia, I look forward to working with more companies who can see the potential of expanding to the GCC region. Thank you for having me today. And if anyone has any questions or would like to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to chat with you.